Few in Australia's political arena can brush off criticism like Treasurer Peter Costello, and he was at it again today as he went about selling last night's budget. Mr Costello claimed that the overhaul of Australia's tax system and the continued elimination of national debt would one day pay off. But as Laurie Wilson reports, the opposition was having none of it.
It may have generated a mixed response, but the Treasurer says in time the budget will come to be seen as a major turning point in the nation's economic history.
In 52 days, Australian income taxes will be cut. The indirect tax system will be changed. The business income tax system will become more competitive. And this is the budget that lays that down.
Earlier, concern on financial markets about the budget bottom line appeared to ease. After dropping to a 20-month low overnight, the Australian dollar did recover some ground. The Prime Minister, in turn, defending the government's fiscal record.
In 5 years, Mr Beazley ran up $80 billion of debt, and we will have repaid 50 of that $80 billion at the completion of this budget. Now, that may not be sexy, but I tell you what, it's solid.
But that didn't stop the opposition from continuing to question the nature of the surplus, which is dependent almost entirely on revenue raised from the sale of mobile telephone licences.
It's a budget that's got more fiddles in it than the Tamworth Country Music Festival.
The government, though, strongly rejects that.
The methodology that we are using is a methodology that was used by treasurers from Fadden to Holt to Howard to Keating through to Costello.
The Treasurer also dismissed criticism by some economic commentators that the government should have retained the East Timor levy to boost the budget surplus.
It wouldn't have been right to say to the Australian people it was necessary to keep the budget in surplus. And once it became clear that that was no longer required, to keep that levy in place.
Looking to the future, Mr Costello says Australia's superannuation system is one key area which remains in need of reform. In the meantime, though, he's more concerned about bedding down his tax reforms and ensuring the inflationary impact of the GST doesn't spark a rash of pay claims by wage earners.
With the effect of those income tax cuts and family assistance changes, even after price rises, they are all better off. And there are no grounds for seeking wage increases.
Laurie Wilson reporting for Nightline.
Finance Minister John Fahey has enough on his plate, helping to sell the budget. But now it's been revealed he's another victim of the Legionnaires outbreak, which has been blamed on the Melbourne Aquarium. Mr Fahey has been ordered to take it easy while he recuperates, but today duty called.
Mr Fahey was out first thing this morning selling the federal government's budget, looking a little tired during a business breakfast in Sydney.
And it goes through the efficiency, it looks as its costs.
Afterwards, a bombshell, his office issuing a statement saying the Finance Minister has been under treatment for Legionella for the past week and on medical advice would be spending the next few days recuperating.
Lots of my colleagues come to me for various things. I'm happy to give free consultations. He does have Legionnaire's disease. It is mild. It's very wise that he takes a couple of days off. He'll make a complete recovery.
Mr Fahey was at a Liberal Party convention which visited the Melbourne Aquarium last month, the place named as the source of the recent outbreak. Prime Minister Howard, who also visited the aquarium but appears fine, has wished Mr Fahey well.
I'm told by him that his condition is good despite having it, and he expects to make a full recovery shortly.
Can I, on behalf of the opposition, express our good wishes to the Minister for Finance and hope for a very quick recovery.
Mr Fahey is the second Liberal struck down with the disease after last month's convention. West Australian Neil Petruccio also fell ill. So far, 87 confirmed cases of Legionnaires have been linked to the aquarium. 25 people remain in hospital, 7 in a critical condition. There are a further 17 suspected cases, including 11 from Victoria and 6 from interstate and overseas. Alan Ruskell for Nightline.
Health Minister Michael Wooldridge says he has no intention of resigning, despite a finding that radiologists probably knew that the 1998 budget would contain a Medicare rebate on magnetic resonance imaging machines. Radiologists had claimed that Dr Wooldridge discussed the possibility of a rebate at a meeting 6 days before the budget was handed down. 33 of the $3 million scanning machines were ordered in time to meet the budget deadline, but the audit office couldn't find conclusive proof of a leak. A 15-year-old Perth youth has been remanded in custody after appearing in court over the weekend sexual assault of a 75-year-old great-grandmother. Another teenager, who turned 14 the day before the attack, spent the afternoon with Aboriginal Legal Service lawyers and is expected to surrender to police overnight. Relatives of the victim were in court today and later said that while the family would never recover from the crime, they had been overwhelmed by community support. Security staff from Sydney's Star City Casino today gave their version of the brawl that ended in the death 2 years ago of Peter Delamangas. The guards told an inquest that 23-year-old Delamangas, his brother and several others had deliberately provoked the incident, challenging, quote, "Those who want to fight to come outside, those who want to be pussies stay inside." Guard Anna Bousfield said she saw Delamangas punching his fists into his hands just before the fight that left him unconscious and without a pulse as 4 security men pinned him to the ground. An internal police investigation is underway in Queensland after an officer shot and killed a man who allegedly lunged at him and a colleague with a knife. Neighbours say the man had earlier walked into several homes threatening the occupants.
Police responded to several 000 calls at Deception Bay just north of Brisbane last night to find a 29-year-old man armed with a knife. In the confrontation that followed, the man was shot dead by one of 2 police officers who were carrying Glock pistols.
All I heard was 6 gunshots and I heard someone saying, "Get down," that's all I heard.
Someone yelling out, get down, and there was 4 more shots fired. And that was about all we heard, and then everybody come rushing out from the streets and to see what was happening, and there's a body laying in the middle of the road.
11 shots were fired. Police aren't yet saying how many hit the man who police attacked after he was wounded.
There's no suggestion of police overreaction. It appears on initial reports that all the proper processes were followed.
The dead man had earlier been terrorising neighbours, walking into 3 homes armed with the knife, prompting the calls to police. The 2 officers, who haven't yet been trained in the use of capsicum spray, have been questioned by Criminal Justice Commission officials as part of the investigation. Last night's incident came just over a week after the shooting of 3 police officers in suburban Brisbane. The search for the man believed responsible, Nigel Parodi, continues. Today, only more false alarms.
Yeah, just cut gun.
Matt Dunstan for Nightline.
After the break, shock report on risks to children from mobile phones and an itsy-bitsy day at the big fashion shows in Sydney. Richard Branson's Virgin Blue airline continued its steady progress towards takeoff today, with cabin crew beginning training at Melbourne Airport. The first batch of 24 recruits from 15,000 applicants are undertaking the expensive course run by one of the airline's future competitors, Ansett. But it wasn't all smooth flying for Virgin, the airline's charismatic boss having to apologise for an embarrassing legal fiasco. Branson's lawyers had recently warned Australia's Virgin companies to change their names, phone numbers and stationery or be sued. But the resulting outcry forced a halt to the legal action. In Greece, lawyers for the man accused of killing Sydney woman Tula Saravia during a hold-up 6 years ago have denied their client is on the run and say he'll soon turn himself in to police. A local court ordered an arrest warrant for Steve Annis, a Greek citizen currently in the army, after he failed to appear for trial on Monday. But confusion is rife. Arrest documents are reportedly not ready and no trial date can be set until Annis is detained. As well, courts in Greece virtually shut down for summer from June until mid-September. A 75-year-old Melbourne man has been found in Paris after wandering the streets for 3 days and nights. His family says a medical condition could have led to his death if he had not been located. Architect John Clark disappeared when he and his wife went to the opera. His son, Chris, put up a $10,000 reward and plastered pictures of his father around the city. French police searched hospitals and checked to see whether his credit cards were being used. Clark was eventually spotted in a coffee shop, dehydrated and disoriented. New research about to be released in Britain reportedly carries an alarming warning about children using mobile phones. It claims they're much more susceptible to harm from radiation and that parents should strictly control their use.
The health effects of mobile phones on children are set to be at the heart of a new official report. It's expected to urge an unprecedented new public warning. Parents should discourage youngsters using mobiles except where necessary. Sources close to the expert committee are stressing that any such warning would only be a precaution. There is no conclusive evidence of a health risk, but some researchers believe that children would be more vulnerable to any potential dangers. New research on youngsters and phones will also be recommended. This would build on work done at Bristol and Utah universities, which suggests radiation from mobiles may have a measurable effect on the brain. Today, the industry is unmoved from its belief that worldwide scientific opinion shows mobiles are safe, but at the same time, it's bracing for the findings of the inquiry due tomorrow.